Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Running Real Estate Podcast. Excited to bring another great guest today. Somebody who is a native to the shore, but has gone on to do some amazing things in the real estate space. Excited to have Jake Gaddis with us today, who is now the managing broker of the Georgetown office for TTR Sotheby's International Realty. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Ryan. I'm always excited to be home. Always good to be back on the shore. And as you know, I grew up about a mile from where we're sitting, so it's very, very nice to be here.
It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Did I get that right? Did I get your title right?
You did. All the big mouthful, but you got it right.
Well, it's a big role, and looking at it from us on the shore, seeing what you're doing at a young age, we're proud of you. We're excited for you. It seems like a pretty awesome opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. It is very very cool. I would not have predicted it 5 or 10 years ago, if at all.
Right.
but here we are.
Yeah. Well, you just never know where your path.
You don't. No, you never know. Never know.
Obviously, the name of the podcast here is Running Real Estate for a couple different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One is I like to run, like as a physical runner, but then also, running a real estate office, something I've tried to do here for a number of years. You're the first person we've brought on here on the podcast that is also running a real estate office. And it's not just a real estate office, it's a $1 billion company, $1 billion office that you're running of a multiple $1 billion real estate brokerage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is something. It is so. TTR Sotheby's International Realty, of course, is kind of like a brother or sister company of Atlantic Shore Sotheby's International Realty, but we're set up very differently, of course, and we serve kind of the Washington, D.C. metro area all the way from the Plains, which is a kind of horse country in Virginia, to our office in St. Michael or in Easton. So it's an interesting amount of markets we serve, and it's a much larger brokerage than I think a lot on the Eastern Shore are, but it's interesting. It's really, really cool work.
Right. Yeah, so it's a huge area you're covering, huge number of agents, huge price tag on a lot of these properties. So obviously different than what we have here in the shore. But maybe if we back up real quick, just to give our listeners and viewers some context, let's talk a little bit about Jake, your history. How did you get to where you are, going back to, your start here on the shore?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I love the story. My first real estate sale ever was with Atlantic Shore Sotheby's International Realty. So that is always my fun fact when I'm talking to people at TTR. It's also, I was out at the Global Networking event, which is the Sotheby's global event that took place in Las Vegas last month. And I met people from all sorts of different affiliates, and I love to tell that story, that I started with one affiliate and now work with another. And I think there's so much synergy within the Sotheby's network, so that is neat. As far as my kind of how I got where I am story, I grew up in Berlin, a couple minutes from Ocean City, graduated from Stephen Decatur, and then went to college at Virginia Tech and studied finance and real estate. I actually got my Maryland real estate license my freshman year of college and hung it in referral status a little bit with another brokerage in Ocean Pines. And I had a mentor over there, and that's kind of just what got me started. I would do things for her and clean out her shed and things. But it's a great way to learn the business and see how a professional agent interacts with clients, interacts with other agents. And then I went into consulting, real estate consulting after college. So I worked for a company called Deloitte in Northern Virginia and did some consulting, but at the same time also then began my sort of sales journey with Atlantic Shore Sotheby's. And that was a really cool experience. I think you got to see it close up, where I realized, wait a minute, I enjoy selling real estate so much more than I enjoy my desk job, where I'm kind of an Excel sheet warrior. Right. It was a wonderful job, but it opened my eyes, definitely. And then I had a really unique opportunity to leave Deloitte and go work for Long & Foster, another kind of mid-Atlantic brokerage, a very, very large brokerage, and be in management for them. They were kind of willing to give me a shot. And so I took it, and that was when I moved my licenses across the bridge, got my DC license, got my Virginia license, and worked at Long & Foster until last October, where it very kind of organically and slowly happened that, I was hired with TTR Sotheby's International Realty. And also, in that time got the broker licenses in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So now with the broker licenses, it's nice to be done with all of the kind of class training, because all three jurisdictions are very different. You've got to take different classes for all of them. So it's nice to be done with that and be able to fully focus on kind of the job at hand.
Right. So many different ways we can go with this, and listening to you over the last few minutes, obviously, your background at Virginia Tech, you got to go to Virginia Tech, you were very active, in campus life there, met a lot of people, took you to a few different spots. Then coming back to the shore a little bit and helping, you mentioned you helped a top agent. It wasn't just an agent in Ocean City, you helped like one of the top agents ever. In the greater Ocean City area with their business, and got to see the behind the scenes look at that. Independent agent model there with an assistant, and then you got exposed to the team a little bit. So you've started getting some pretty good background in the real estate world, and then hopping into Long & Foster as a manager. What was that experience like? What was your first experience in running a company? Because you got a lot of moving parts there with that company.
Yes. I mean, Long & Foster is, wholly owned by Home Services of America, which is wholly owned by Berkshire Hathaway. It is a corporation.
Right.
Their business model is that of a large corporate company, which I had just come from in Deloitte. Deloitte has 300,000 employees. So going to Long & Foster, where they've got 11,000 agents, 1,200 full-time staff, it didn't seem that big. I was in an office, though, where we had two brokers and I was the manager, and the three of us kind of led the office together, but we had 215 agents doing about $800 million in production. Wow. So there is a lot of moving parts there. And our age range of agents was 18 to 88, I think. And you really had to kind of be a chameleon. My first experience with that was, it was hard. I walked into this office and it was kind of like, who are you? It was, I had just moved my licenses over there. I'm this young guy coming in that has been given this authority, but not earned the authority in their eyes yet. So the first 6 months were really just building trust, building the relationship, building rapport. And then after about 6 months, I was able to shift towards growth. And then that became my main objective, was growth, because I had two other people managing with me that could focus on the real estate and focus on retention and developing agents, where I was really heavily focused on building that office. Getting us to $1 billion was my go to bed and wake up last and first thing I thought about.
Right.
Or now being alone, running the office by myself, you got to do it all. You got to be the jack of all trades. But I've got 65 to 70 agents rather than 200, so it's a little better on that front.
Right. So, I mean, you mentioned getting your brokerage license and across different states and the different rules and different moving parts with that. It's so in that first role as a manager, how much of the deal doctoring, contract, and or issue work were you doing? Did you get thrown into that a little bit, or was it really like, all right, Jake's going to help us grow. He's just on the growth side?
No, I definitely got thrown into that right away. I mean, they wanted me to learn that immediately, but I didn't have to be the final decision maker or the final signer.
Got it.
So it was a nice way for, about 18 months to be able to really just learn and be able to watch. I mean, I was there with two industry titans in Washington, D.C. I mean, they were both 20 to 30 year veterans of the industry. We're still friends today. They were really great mentors, and I learned a lot from them.
Right. So 200 plus agents in that role. I mean, I obviously run a real estate office here, but we're a fraction of that, and issues come up. You know, I mean, you see these things. I mean, it's a very litigious world, and you know, everybody's doing the best they can, and we've certainly gone above and beyond to try to have the best training that we can and the checks and balances, but there's still things that come up. So with 200 agents, I mean, how often was an agent coming in being like, hey, what do I do with this? What do I do with that? And the Gaddis minutes, I can only imagine the Gaddis minutes have to be out of control.
Once an hour. I mean, with that many agents, you also have to remember Long & Foster's business model is new agents.
Okay.
So you bring in a new agent, train them up, bring them from zero to however high they can go, however high they want to go. So you have a lot more questions, which is a lot more time consuming. A brand new real estate agent requires a lot of attention because if they don't know what they're doing, they're a humongous liability for themselves and for the broker and for the brokerage. So, I mean, like as you know, the broker is ultimately responsible for everything that any salesperson does. So if you have a salesperson that screws up, you could lose your broker's license. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely keeps you on your toes. But you know, you know it just as well as anyone else. I mean, being a real estate broker, running a real estate office is a 24/7 job because real estate is 24/7. People buy houses on Saturdays and Memorial Day and you know, Thursday nights. So it's around the clock, but it's rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't stop for your agents, and it probably doesn't stop for you because it just works itself up to you, you know, when they need something. Okay, so from that large number of agents, a lot of new agents, and a company also there that probably was not as niche focused. It was a run the gamut. We'll take everything from entry level to super high end and everything in between. What you know, have you seen? Maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but obviously with TTR Sotheby's International Realty, I am assuming it's more niche focused. You have agents you only have 65 of them there, but they're doing high volume, high dollar volume, and I'm guessing have they been more niche focused, meaning like they pick a certain area that's a little bit higher end. They don't do the volume maybe is not the volume of transaction maybe is not quite as high.
So yes, and what I will say, because I definitely have a lot of respect for all of our competitors, one of the things I loved about Long & Foster was that I always felt that they were everyone's real estate company. You know, from the $45,000 shell row home to the multi-million-dollar house in Potomac, they kind of did it all. You're exactly right that we are much more focused in the luxury space. Our agents tend to be a little more experienced, and they tend to be focused on whatever their neighborhood of expertise is. They're pretty dialed in on it. We do not aspire to be the largest real estate company in Washington, D.C. We aspire to be the best. So that takes it's a different business model. It's a different approach you take every day because you're working with agents who have a lot of experience. The average number of years of experience is generally higher. With that said, though, we have a lot of people in the first 10 years of their career that are absolutely killing it. Actually, we have one in particular that I'm thinking about. He's in the first 10 years of his career, and he's the most followed real estate account in the world. He's doing north of $200 million a year. I mean, it's incredible. Like, it's just really, really incredible. And so we kind of I like to take age off the table. I like to just say it doesn't. Especially. And a lot of people get into real estate later. You know, it's a second career for a lot of people, and it's a fabulous second career. So yes, we are. To answer your question, we are much more focused in that luxury space, which also, as you know, takes longer to sell a house that is priced really. I mean, right now we have Dan Snyder's house for sale for $49 million. That will take a while. It takes that buyer. Isn't walking the street every day, you're seeing.
Right. And you have to go a little bit broader in your marketing to be able to attract that buyer sometimes. I mean, it's not like anybody down the street is going to be able to afford that.
Yeah, no, you have to go international.
Right.
Which is nice when you're with an international company that, I mean, we have offices, I think now, the count right now is 81 countries. I mean, so we have the reach. You just have to know how to tap into the reach.
Right. And the interesting thing, I mean, when you talk about Sotheby's International Realty, there's obviously a lot of international cities, but DC is probably one of the top international cities. You have people coming and going from all over the world.
I saw a statistic yesterday that said, I think it was 41% of people who live in Washington, D.C. were not born in the United States, which blew my mind, especially growing up. In Berlin, I wasn't exposed to that level of international influence. Right. So it is I love living in the Washington, D.C. area. You're never a dull moment.
Right. So, obviously, I'm sold on Sotheby's International Realty. You had some experience with it, but so what was it that took this transition from everybody's real estate company to get you over to TTR?
So, once again, networking and being kind to people and staying in touch with people is, I believe, so important. I had always had my eye a little bit on TTR Sotheby's International Realty just because I had the experience with Atlantic Shores to know a little bit. I kind of got my feet wet with the brand, and my feeling in the Washington D.C. market was, Long & Foster and Compass are the biggest players. They're the largest market share. But I always kind of looked at TTR and thought, wow, they have such cool listings, blah, blah, blah. However, the thing that really made me want to be there was whenever I would go to a broker opens are pretty big. And whenever I would go to one that was with a TTR agent, there'd be 40 people there. They showed up, and that to me was really cool. I wanted to be a part of it. It makes you want, it's contagious when people show up. And I could tell that they were going on broker tours together, and they were, getting in their cars and going, and then they were going out to lunch. And I was like, that looks like just kind of a fun place. And I always thought, I was like, oh my gosh, the marketing is so uniform, it's beautiful, it's simple. It would be so easy to, from a growth perspective, if you're getting in the broker mindset, I was kind of like, what a easy thing to sell to people. Like, hey, come be a part of this international, amazing company. And so I actually had a friend that was on a team with TTR who introduced me to her team lead, who's a fantastic agent. I think they're the largest small team in Virginia. I met her. She introduced me to one of the owners of TTR, and it just kind of slowly went from there. And I ultimately it was a very hard decision to make. I loved the people that I worked with at Long & Foster. But it was one of those career moves that I needed to make for myself. One of those things where sometimes you just have to be a little selfish and take the leap.
Right. So obviously you mentioned the marketing. As an agent with Sotheby's or or TTR Sotheby's International Realty and or a client, what is it that's, from a marketing standpoint that sets you guys apart?
I think anyone in the Sotheby's International Realty network has the advantage of offering international exposure, and we're going to put your property anywhere. I know we're going to put it more places than anybody else. Any house for sale, no matter what company it's for sale with, it's going to be on Zillow, it's going to be on Redfin, it's going to be on, I could go on and on forever. Right. They don't have the most visited real estate site in the world, which is sotheby'srealty.com. They don't have the auction house. They don't have these new kind of innovative programs like the Sotheby's concierge auctions that are coming in, and I think have the potential to be a real game changer, to work alongside agents to give a property this international online exposure. I also think as an agent, I know we are constantly, tirelessly trying to be on the cutting edge. Tomorrow we have a whole seminar in the afternoon on how to use ChatGPT in real estate and how to help, how to basically use it to help your business grow your business, make your business more efficient. Mm-hmm. So from an agent perspective, I could go on and on for days. From a client perspective, when you are looking, especially in Washington, D.C., where there are so many international buyers, if you have a home, especially a luxury home, it has to be with an international company. There's no question.
Got it. So from agent growth, you talk about that not necessarily putting age into the mix, but experience into the mix. For a long time, Sotheby's International Realty was attracting people who had great experience. They've been doing it for a long period of time, and then now you've seen some lesser experienced in length of time joining you. But part of that also, and what I'm curious about is are you seeing more of that maybe newer to the business agent who has kind of caught on quickly? They've taken everything Sotheby's International Realty offers them, and then now they're starting to maybe spread their wings and add some people to assist them. Thus, the emergence of teams.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would say if I took all the people in my office, all the licensees in my office, 30% of them are, maybe even 40% of them are either on a team or leading a team or related to a team, working for a team, whatever it is. And when we bring on a kind of quote new agent into TTR, typically they're going on to a team because we feel that is a great way to learn the business and to have that mentorship, which I mean, I when I had that first sale, I was on your team. Mm-hmm. So, and I needed to be. I needed that supervision. I needed that mentorship. I even, went on a listing appointment with you and listened to how you speak to clients, how you handle their objections or their questions. And I think that was a really important kind of influential time for me. With that said, some people are better as a one-man or one-woman show, but I think it's pretty individual.
Right. I think one thing that's interesting for me is obviously we kind of started our journey with Sotheby's International Realty more as a team, right? That was what we were before joining the brand and associating with the brand. And then now we're at this point where we want to make sure we don't alienate that individual agent as well. We want to make sure we have another spot for them to be able to spread their wings and grow, whether that was a team member that then became an independent agent and then now wants to start a team, or just somebody who, like you said, who really wants to be independent but maybe wants that the great marketing and or some additional support from an admin standpoint. Have you, as a company, is there talking within the company when you're talking with other management? Have you had to, or do you see a shift in the services that are being offered from a brokerage to their agents as far as admin, marketing, contract support, those types of things?
So I think industry-wide, this is not specific to any company. In 2023, May of 2023, the market is down a bit. I think we will see kind of general cuts to, not cuts, I don't like the word cuts, scale backs to what a brokerage is able to offer. Just as, the business cycle goes. You're heavier, more heavily staffed in a really up market. You're a little lighter staffed in a down market. I don't think we're going to be in like a crazy down market. So I'm not saying we're going to see any sort of layoffs or anything like that necessarily. I know what we are doing, what I am trying to do is provide as much support to agents as I possibly can fit into one day. And that's with staff, with my time, that's with our kind of corporate staff. I say corporate quote because we're not really very corporate, but we have a marketing team that is supporting. We have a marketing person in every office that is there to support. We have me who's there to support. And then we have all kinds of other people that are basically there to just make an agent's life easier. Now, they are probably a little more set up to support those individual agents because a lot of the teams, they have a transaction coordinator on the team or they have an administrator on the team who's handling actually getting the contracts done or whatever it is. With that said, I think it's very important as a broker to treat everyone the same. When a team member, someone on a team comes to me and needs help with something, I'm going to help them the same way I am an individual agent. I think you have to know, as the broker, you got to know everyone's name and everyone's personality and be able to help everybody because you're on a team. So yes, you're kind of in your own little bubble, but at the end of the day, my license is still on the line. If you don't know what you're doing. And I just think it's the right thing to do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting to see because we have not seen too much of that yet, where we have had these independent agents within our company go start teams. But I know that's the evolution. That's what's going to be next.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see, the brokerage model, which plays out in the long run. With the support, the service, what they're offering, how you can assist the team by maybe pulling, especially if the market shifts, by taking on some of that additional marketing for them or contract support, so they can just do what's best, which is really kind of grow their brand, their individual brand. So I'm always curious to see where things are going.
Yeah.
In the real estate industry, and you definitely have your finger on the pulse, being in such a big company.
Well, and I also I just find it very fascinating to read I read Inman a lot and the Washington Business Journal and anything that NAR puts out, just because I think it's interesting to see where the market is going, and if you're not on the front wave of where it's going, you're going to get kicked to the side.
Right.
So I think it's it's important to stay on it.
Right. And that's something that in my 21 years I've always tried to do, is just stay ahead. Like what's the next thing going to be? And you mentioned ChatGPT and AI and how that could change our world, which I'm still not sure.
I'm not either. And what I will say, just to flatter you for a moment, when I started in real estate and I was with that agent we were talking about earlier, Marlene, I remember when I told her I was going to be leaving her, essentially, from a licensing perspective, she said, "Oh, I've always admired Ryan. He's always on the front end of whatever's going on. He's always trying the new thing." And I think I applaud you for that. I think that's a good reputation to have. And then back to the teams. For an agent who might be listening to this in the Ocean City market or any other market, ask questions, because all teams are not the same.
Right.
All teams work a little differently. I think there's this stigma that, okay, if I go work on a team, it's all about, it's all about the team leader. It's all about the high producer on the team, and I'm just kind of there to support their business. Most teams are not set up like that. I know yours is not. It's set up from a support standpoint. So I think it's really important, if you're thinking about a team, to ask those questions. What kind of support is there? What does support look like? What does marketing look like? All those things. Because I don't have one team that operates the same.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm sure you see lots of different.
We have lots of different models. Some very interesting, and they all kind of work, but they're all different. I don't have one that operates exactly like the other.
Right. And it's funny how this has evolved over the years, because I do think, we go back to Long & Foster, and I think of locally here, I never worked for Long & Foster, but my first broker worked for Long & Foster for years, and that's where he really was able to to learn the foundation. And they were big on the mentor program for a while, which is kind of an early version of the team, right? It's this idea where you're going to follow somebody who's been doing this for a long time, and just listen to them and help them where they might need help, and they're going to help you too. And also, if they have some extra opportunities that they can't get to, that's when the mentee would get an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So it's similar to what, just on a much larger scale.
Yes.
With teams now.
Yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned, which I just think is fascinating. You mentioned this top team, one of the top teams in the country. Was that Hyder or Heater?
Yep, Hyder.
Okay.
Yep.
I've seen their stuff that they're putting out on Instagram and social, and the video work is just it's unbelievable.
It's incredible. It is so incredible.
Are they doing that? In-house? Or are they?
I think some of it. I don't know all the dynamics, but first of all, Daniel Hyder, who's the lead of that team, he's one of those people that he just hugs you. And I don't mean physically, but he just kind of is so contagious, his outlook, his attitude. But everything they put out is top tier. They are on every social media. They've got I think they've got millions of followers on TikTok now. We have a couple kind of TikTok famous people in my office, which is so kind of interesting. Yeah, my friends will send me videos. I'm like, yeah, I know him. I know Max Rabin. He's putting things out all the time. But yeah, Daniel also, he has, they do everything to the max. So you go to a broker open. I went to one recently. They were making sushi there, and they had this instrument out on the back. I don't even know what the instrument was. It was that large and out of my realm of knowledge. But I think they hire some people, but they also have a kind of chief marketing officer on staff who I think handles most of that.
How big is that team?
That's a great question. I mean, it's not more than 10 people. It's
right.
not a huge
number they're
no, I mean, we don't have any huge teams. Like I know some Compass, their model right now is teams.
Right.
And it's get those teams big and in the 9-figure production mark. Where we have a lot of teams that are small.
Right. I think of Sotheby's International Realty. I think about efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
I think, some of the other companies out there, and I won't name them, but they, I mean, it's definitely like they go big, and the agent production level is very minimal. I mean, when you look per person,
look at average,
per person productivity of Sotheby's International Realty versus some of these other companies, I think about it being efficient. I somebody who's a TTR, Sotheby's International Realty, one of the top people is Brad Capel. Brad Capel. I always mess up his name.
Capel. Yep.
Brad, I had dinner with him. So I took him to dinner to pick his brain a little bit in Annapolis one night. And, I mean, the numbers that he is doing
I think Brad sells a house every day.
It's crazy.
Literally.
I mean, you look at social media.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they're $5 million houses.
It's not nothing small.
It's incredible. And isn't he the nicest guy?
Absolutely.
He is like humble. I mean, you would not know the humongous level of success by meeting him just because he's so kind and normal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, great guy. And, and he's got, I mean, he's pretty much running as an individual agent. He does have an assistant, and he's got somebody who helps, with some of the buyers from time to time. But
but that's
numbers,
it.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know how he is accomplishing in it and still staying sane, but he certainly does. And the other thing I picked up from Brad was I don't know if I've ever met like a bigger cheerleader for the brand. I mean, it was absolutely in love with it, and he in talking to him, he made it sound like he'd not go anywhere else. I mean, that if for him to do what he needs to do to reach the clientele that are going to be buying these multi-million-dollar Annapolis properties, or even onto the Eastern Shore a little bit where he's going, I mean, he felt like he needed Sotheby's International Realty. So that I thought was pretty awesome.
Well, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, this is working in the Sotheby's International Realty brand. I have never worked anywhere where people have so much pride in the brand, including myself. I truly cannot picture working for any other real estate brand. And I don't know if that's me drinking the Kool-Aid, or I don't think it is. I think it's me just having a genuine belief that a lot of us share, that is, no, I work for the best. Right. And why would I? There was this one thing, and it sounds kind of pretentious, but there's this one marketing piece that SIR put out, and the end of the video, the woman goes, why would I settle for anything less than the best? And it sounds kind of like, oh, look at me up on my pedestal, but it's true. Like, right. Why would you, if you believe it's the best, and the best looks different for everybody, but if you believe it's the best, why wouldn't you, want to be there?
Yeah. I mean, I think about it. If it costs you the same, and you're getting the absolute best marketing, the absolute best exposure, the absolute best support, the absolute best knowledge from the agents. I mean, why would you go anywhere else?
Yeah,
and I firmly believe it.
Mm-hmm. And for the average listener, we're biased, but I think we're both have done our homework, done our research, and. We know it's not a perfect company either. I mean, there's always my brokerage isn't perfect, yours isn't perfect. There's always things to work on. We're always striving to be better, to be more efficient, to be larger, advocates in the community, to be better philanthropists, to be better, support our clients better. I mean, you have to keep always. If you think you're perfect, that I think is when you're done. You're headed right downhill.
Right. And it's not about price point either. It's about it's about a lifestyle. It's about a feeling. It's about a better life. I feel like.
Well, and luxury is a feeling and a level of service, not a price. And you should treat and you taught me this. I mean, you should treat a $300,000 listing exactly the same as a $3 million listing. And when you go on an appointment and when you interact, it's the same thing. It's just a bigger number. But the service has to be the same. And I think also a mind shift that we're kind of leaning into in 2023 is that we work in the hospitality business, and we have to provide. And this was this keynote speaker at the Sotheby's event. We have to provide a level of unreasonable hospitality. We have to be the most hospitable. And I know in the Ocean City market, which is such a heavily hospitality-run economy, you've got to lean into it. I think, from the outside, and I think, you guys do lean into that. But I think that it's an interesting take. I don't think you think of a real estate company as a hospitality company. But at the end of the day, I mean, yes, we're selling houses, but is it really about the houses all the time? No, it's about the people. Yep.
Right. The people. I mean, they all have the similar issues, similar problems, similar obstacles, or similar opportunities at every price point.
Yep, exactly. No, it's emotional at every price point. It's a big decision at every price point, because that $300,000 purchase for someone, that might be that is their dream home. It does. So you can't look at price when it comes to how you treat people.
Absolutely not. And this is jumping around a little bit, but something else that I'm drawn to, and I'm sure you've seen this shift, but the way Sotheby's International Realty performs as a real estate company for their consumers, but also for their agents, it's definitely it's ninja. To some extent, and this will kind of throw our maybe some of our consumers off a little bit, but it's this mindset shift of abundance versus scarcity.
Yes.
And I don't know, and this is probably going more towards the agents that you attract and how they grow their business. But when I say that, is I think a Sotheby's International Realty agent in general has been very good at staying in contact with the people that surround them. And it's not just in contact with or making contacts or prospecting. It's having genuine conversations with people in the community and being connected in the community that has allowed a lot of them to continue to grow their business. It just naturally comes to them.
Well, you're exactly right. I have you taken a Ninja installation?
I have not.
You have to.
I have my Ninja planner over there, though.
You have to. We have one in July in Alexandria.
I heard. I was thinking about trying to see if we could jump into that.
I took one in November. It was my second week with TTR, and I'm all in. I want to take one in another market next year. I'm thinking about maybe going to one of our big feeder markets. But we have a goal at TTR. Every new agent now has to take a Ninja 4-day Ninja installation. We're working towards trying to be 100% Ninja company. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a Ninja selling. I mean, it's a sales training at its very most basic way to say it. But it is all about coming from this place of abundance. If you come from a place of I'm staying in touch with people in a way that is not to sell them real estate. It's a way to keep relationships, to foster those relationships. And there's enough business for all of us. That's how I think you win in a down market. So that we're leaning into that. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely.
I heard Ninja 100%. And I was ready to roll.
No, it's 100%. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways to grow a real estate business, and one is you go hunting every single day. You're chasing the business and hoping and praying and wishing that something's gonna come into fruition. And honestly, that model does work.
It does.
But then there's also this other model, which one thing I really envy about the person you mentioned who you worked under for years, or not for years, but where you got your start when you were working under her. I mean, she's got kind of that business, that business that's come back to her because of staying in touch with people.
Yep. I mean, she's selling. She has a generational business.
Right.
She's I know on multiple occasions sold to 3 generations of the same family because they constantly come back. They say, "Oh, you need to call her," and that is exactly. I mean, who does not want a business like that? That's pretty much all referral based. Because imagine it, from the real estate agent perspective, think about your margins if you're not spending a ridiculous amount of money on marketing because you've had this abundance mindset for years, and now it comes back to you.
Right. So what we're trying to do as a company is we're trying to continue to make it rain and have as many lead opportunities come into our company for our agents to build that foundation So now moving forward, they can continue to stay in touch with them and follow the Ninja plan to then have this business that just keeps coming back to them year after year after year.
And I think using the and I learned this out in Vegas, especially when I was talking to, because I always, it's funny, I gravitate towards just naturally towards anyone who works in a beach market. So I've gotten to know a few people at Landmark Sotheby's, International Realty, and Pacific out on the West Coast, and Atlantic and Virginia Beach. And talking to them, I mean, some of them, 60% of their business is referrals. So you need to use the same ninja mindset towards other agents in other markets as well, because you want, when someone thinks about Ocean City, Maryland, you want instantly them to go, oh, Ryan Haley's down there, let me send you to him. And I want them to think Washington, D.C., or Northern Virginia, or Montgomery County, or really anywhere in suburban Maryland. Oh, let me call Jake. He can help me find an agent that works that market. I mean, we did it yesterday.
Just
right?
yesterday,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, that the network is so important.
No, I agree, and that was one of the biggest draws to me. I mean, you know my history. I owned an independent company in this town for 10 years and was very proud, but I could not think of a better partner. It was really the only partner that I was going to align with in Sotheby's International Realty for so many reasons, but a big part of that was having the network. In our mid-Atlantic region and beyond, where there's opportunities that people, hopefully when they think of Ocean City, they will think of our company. Yeah. So pretty amazing. Okay, so switching gears again now as your role, you know, I can only imagine the pressure and everything that you're doing. Obviously, you got to grow the company, so you got to get into some recruiting. You got to retain the agents that are there and get them trained, you know, the way that you want them to be trained. Part of that you mentioned was Ninja. What does it look like for say, you know, one of the independent agents in the Georgetown office? What does the weekly schedule look like from a training standpoint or learning opportunities?
So I'm very lucky that I walked into a well-run office. I walked into experienced, fantastic agents who know what they're doing. So I am more focused on development than training someone from the start. So, I mean, we have two people in the company at kind of a corporate level that are dedicated to development. And then I also am kind of there as the on the ground support in Georgetown. But I mean, we have a pretty packed calendar. I mean, we do a all hands sales meeting once every 2 weeks. Okay. We've cut back to once a month in the summer just because it's the summer.
Everybody leaves.
Yes,
going to the beach.
It's a little hot in DC in the summer. Right. There's no breeze.
You pull off that suit.
Yeah, exactly. No tie in the summer. But I mean, we try to do lunch and learns, round tables every week or every couple weeks, and it's seasonality. I mean, in the spring we know you're busier. I'd rather agents be out in the market in April than in the office. So we do use the summer as a heavy development time. It's like take your CE in the summer, your continuing education. And we offer that in the offices as well. But we kind of pick topics that are interesting too. So like tomorrow we have this one about ChatGPT. It's going to be with Max Rabin, who's in Georgetown, and also an agent out with Golden Gate Sotheby's International Realty in San Francisco. So the two of them are going to do it together. Broker opens are big. We're really trying to encourage that. And then, I mean, the retention piece, I really love the retention piece because it's all about supporting and loving the people that you work with and constantly re-recruiting them. So doing like team building type things that may sound silly, but like tomorrow, I bought 20 tickets to the Georgetown C&O Canal boat, and we're going to go take an hour history tour of Georgetown. Most people live in Georgetown, but it was kind of just a thing to get people excited. And then recruiting, I mean, the whole mindset with recruiting is really, and it's different. I'm still learning this over there. If you're doing things that people want to be a part of, they will come to you. Right. But that's a very hard thing something we're actively always trying to achieve, which is let's create an environment that people are trying to knock down the door to get in.
Right.
With clients and agents.
Yeah. the magnetism.
Yes.
Trying to be, it's attraction once again.
Exactly.
Based on what you're doing, that you do things so differently that people want to be a part of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's tough to get that.
It is very hard to do that, and they want your name next to their face,
right?
Which is it's a hard thing to convince people.
Yeah. So, you're the lead of the Georgetown office, which is the largest office for TTR Sotheby's International Realty. You have 5 offices in total. Is that correct?
We have 12 offices.
12. Wow. Okay. Sorry.
Yep.
You did $5 billion.
We do. Yeah. This year with the market down, we'll do a little shy of that. But I think last year, the year before, we were right around $5 billion. So yeah, it's
and it's still an independently owned company.
Yep. We're independently owned by five individuals who are all 5 very involved.
They sell too, right?
Not all of them.
No.
So we have a couple of them. The 2 founding members and our principal broker, they both sell. But then we have, one is the CEO, and then we have a COO for Maryland and DC, and a COO for Virginia. Some of them sell, some of them don't. And then we have 4 managing brokers like myself.
Got it. Big organization. I mean, all things considered. Obviously, you said you're not striving to be the largest company, but a company at that size, obviously, like I said, you get your finger on the pulse, and it has the ability to stay in touch with people throughout the entire industry, and probably you're really getting an inside view as to what could be coming down the pipe, what the future may hold for real estate. So I'm going to put you on the spot now, and I mean, obviously you're doing a fantastic job, but we're always wondering as leaders for our companies, what is the next thing? And if you could, you went out to the G&E and got exposed to what was going on there. You follow Inman. What do you think the next thing is? Like, where is the I don't want to say the shiny object, but what maybe it's something we need to keep our eyes on as leaders for the industry, and or something that could change it?
I think you are putting me on the spot. Wow, and I'm
not going to hold you to
it.
Oh,
and I will lead all of this by saying this is all my opinion, my personal opinion. I think we will see a shrinking of the amount of real estate agents that exist in the market. I mean, 75,000 people let their license lapse in January of this year.
Yeah. First downward.
First down. I mean, I actually just sent out an article to the office yesterday. It's the first decline NAR has seen in membership in years.
Right.
So I think we will see a tightening. I think the great agents will rise to the top and have just as good of a year as they've had in the past. I think we'll see a flight to excellence from the consumer standpoint. I think they are going to want the highest level of service, and I think they're going to be willing to pay for it. I think that you get what you pay for in real estate when you hire a real estate company, and I'm talking about commission, and I think all of that will be important. And I think from the real estate company's perspective and the real estate agent's perspective, that is going to be increasingly important because it affects your bottom line. As far as emerging trends or things, I don't think we're going to see a huge price decline. I think we'll see a little bit of one. I hope rates go down. I'm not making a prediction on that. I think this whole AI thing is going to change the game. I don't know how, and I don't think it's going to be immediate. But I do think we are figuring out how to automate things at a rapid pace. Mm-hmm. However, look at what companies like Zillow have tried to do. Look at what companies like Redfin have tried to do. And they are both amazing. I mean, God, I would love to achieve what Zillow has achieved. But you cannot replace the personal touch of a real estate agent. You cannot do it. So while I think we will see a lot of change in the next couple years, I also think we'll see a lot stay the same. And I think the good professionals will make it out of the next couple years in better shape than they came in.
Yeah. Great predictions.
I hope they're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's super loaded question. And
of course.
Like I said, I'm not going to hold you to it, and it's all speculation. Nobody knows.
All of us, all we can do is speculate. And I mean, I love the new technology. I mean, I'm always trying new things. I'm always down to give something a shot.
Right.
From a technology perspective, like a new SEO thing or a new website. Like we're really heavily involved with luxury presence now. They're a big.
As far as the site goes?
Yeah, so a lot of our agents they're kind of a third-party site. They're a partner of Sotheby's International Realty, but we're using them pretty heavily right now. And I'm trying them myself because I'm just curious. Like I'm always curious. I love going in, seeing what the web traffic is on the back end, where the people are coming from, where they're going. It's fascinating to me.
That was one of the tasks we actually had you assist us with.
But I feel like, you were really on kind of the front end of SEO. Like, RyanHaley.com, you had all the neighborhoods before everyone bought a Boomtown site with all the neighborhoods. You actually built it.
A lot of late nights.
Yeah, in that, I do think you
manually doing that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you saw that reflected in your business, because when someone Googled the pyramid, Ocean City, you came up.
Right. Yeah, and then now it's evolved.
Yeah,
and then there was the SEO period for a while. Like if you had the best SEO, you popped up, and then there was the pay to play, and now it's like we're seeing some different SEO that might help you again, or SEO combined with how you're paying. It's amazing how that has changed.
Yeah, well, and I also you have Homes.com is entering the picture.
Right.
I think they are going to be a really good player.
So who bought them? That was
CoStar owns Homes.com, and CoStar doesn't lose. CoStar has a lot of money, and their commercial real estate products are exceptional. I worked with them at Deloitte, and they have begun to work with us a little bit at TTR Sotheby's International Realty, because their model, and we'll see if it stays like this, but their model is not like the Zillow model. You can't pay to be a premium agent. You can't pay to be the agent that shows up when a consumer is looking. It's all based on neighborhood. So when a consumer goes on to Homes.com and they're looking at a condo in the pyramid, it's going to show them at the bottom the top 10 agents in the pyramid who have sold, and it's going to say they've had this many sales and this. So, and you can't do anything to change it, really. Yeah, you just have to make sure you have an account set up. But that will be also, again, back to that flight to excellence, back to people leaving the industry. I think the strong agents are only going to get stronger.
Right.
And a product like that is wonderful for a strong agent. It's not necessarily wonderful for an agent that doesn't have any sales history in the pyramid. Right. Now, there's the argument, how many people are getting their real estate agent from Homes.com? It's hard to say.
Yeah,
but it's like, my attitude is, I made a Homes.com profile. I want to be there. Yeah. I want to be at the show, at least. I want to be at the table.
Case.
Yeah, I want to be at the table.
So you touched on this, but I think you're right. I think that, and part of this, I think, is to do with the inventory environment. That we talk about our sales being down 35% or whatever they are nationally right now. I think it's the same thing here locally. We're not seeing prices decline. We're not seeing inventory increase. And in fact, I want to get your take on this, but as inventory is less, there's less opportunities. 35%, less opportunities for an agent to sell something. So with that, I think that agent who's really just doing 1, 2, 3 deals a year is going to struggle when you've got these teams that have figured out a way to build on the success they're getting. If they've had 5 sales in the pyramid and now they show up as number 1, it's easier for them to continue to grow. It's easier for them to get more market share as long as they put the results out there, right?
Absolutely.
And people see that success, and it builds on itself. And then that person who just sold 1, it's just harder and harder for them to capture any market share.
It is, and it's not impossible. I meet people all the time who got into the real estate market in 2008 and have a wonderful career, but it's harder.
Right.
It's not like 2020 where people kind of, and listen, I was guilty of this in 2020. People fall in your lap. It's like, oh my gosh, everyone's trying to buy or sell a house, especially at the beach. I felt like, everyone's trying to get out of the city. They're trying to get down to the beach and, get a piece.
The beauty of 2020 was that there was so many opportunities, so many people who wanted to buy, but it wasn't as competitive quite yet.
No, exactly.
You could still negotiate a little bit there for a while because there was that scarcity of like, oh my gosh, we just shut down the world.
If you were willing
I need to sell this thing,
and if
what's next?
If you were willing to buy a house in summer of 2020, it was kind of the last time you could get a deal.
Right.
And now we'll see. I'm curious about the secondary kind of the resort markets. From a personal investment standpoint, I'm curious, okay, will we see will there be any kind of sell-off? I'm curious. Do you think we have that coming at all?
The inventory is so tight right now, but we definitely fluctuate. Our interest rates, whenever they get up above 7%, which we're at kind of the highest level right now that we've been in 4 weeks or so, and I've seen it slow a tad, right?
Yeah.
But then we have the seasonality that comes into play. To answer your question, the one thought could be that that if the overall economy slows, and then we start to see some layoffs and the job market starts to slow down, and there are some layoffs, and we get to a recession, which I think we've already been in, but nobody wanted to admit. If we actually get to that recession, and if the average consumer is concerned that maybe their income diminishes in whatever their job is, and they want to free up some cash, well, they're not going to sell their primary. Most likely, that has an interest rate of 2.5% to 3%. They're probably not going to sell that. But if they want to free up some cash, they do probably have equity in their second home. They do have equity in their beach house. So that might be the place where they turn and say, you know what, let's sell the beach house and take advantage of some of this equity. Yeah. So if that's the case, we might actually see a little inventory hit the market, which I would absolutely love. I think in general, though, the inventory piece, the world that we're in with this low inventory, there's not enough homes for our population, and the builders have not been able to keep up. We're going to be, I honestly think we're going to be in an inventory environment that is extremely low for some time. So I'm not anticipating that we're going to see prices really soften that much, and or an increase in inventory. I think that people like the fact that real estate is tangible. They've played around the stock market for years. They've seen that go up and down. They can put their money into real estate, buy it for 5% down, 10% down, but leverage $300,000, in ownership, plus all the tax benefits. I could go on and on.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Of course.
I honestly think that we're not going to see inventory drastically increase, and I don't think we're going to see a major downturn in prices.
Yeah, I would agree with you generally. Yeah,
I'm a believer in real estate.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what we're every day when I go home. I'm talking to my wife. It's like, where can we get the next piece of real estate? Yeah,
the same thing is going through my head. I'm like, how do I do it? But it is. Right now I'm almost like, all right, we need a little price drop because
you want to buy.
I want to buy. Yeah.
No. It's certainly interesting. The resort market does throw a bit of a twist into it. But I would imagine the city market that you see is a bit of a twist too.
Well, because we have such a transient market, because every time the president changes, the population changes. Every time the administrations change, embassies are constantly coming and going. And now with it, when we have a huge influx of technology in Northern Virginia with Amazon's new headquarters, they're building down there like crazy. They're renaming the whole place. There's this huge influx of highly paid millennials coming to Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia. The D.C. actually this year for the first time, the population grew again. Wow. So it had been down not down substantially, but down, 1% for the last couple of years, and it's reversed. So it's a tight market too. We have there are only 200 single family homes for sale in D.C. on Friday. That's not enough for a population of 700,000. Yeah. But we're seeing condos. It's a little, condos are a little tough to sell in DC right now.
Okay.
But and about more than half of the inventory is condos.
Got it.
But
yeah, it's very interesting. You get to see all segments of the market from like you said, from rural horse farms to urban, hip condos to classic row homes out to the east, the waterfront stuff in Annapolis out to, the upper Eastern Shore market. So it's pretty cool that you get to be around all of that.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to continue to pick your brain.
Okay.
I'm going to keep coming to you. I'm just saying in general. For
Beyond
today, I'm going to continue to pick Jake's brain
because
he's got access to some amazing things there. Yeah. But welcome back to the shore. I know you got to get back to DC, but I'm sure as the summer goes on, you'll continue to make it back.
Absolutely, I'll be back in a couple of days, and I appreciate you having me on the podcast. I will definitely stop by. I love having this office in Berlin. I'll swing by. Maybe even this summer I'll come work here. Yeah, if I can figure out how to do that, yeah, I might even do it. But yeah.
So for the agent in DC that has listened to this and is just thinking about maybe making a move, how could they get in touch with you?
Well, there's a few different ways. You can Google me. You can right. you can swing by our office in Georgetown. We're on 30th Street. You always say hi. But the easiest way is probably you can go to TTRSIR.com, go to leadership, and all of our contact information is right there.
That's awesome. Same thing for a homeowner who wants to sell that multi-million-dollar property.
Same thing for a homeowner. They go to TTRSIR.com or call our office in Georgetown. If you just Google TTR Georgetown, it comes right up. I think that's the simplest way.
Awesome. Well, Jake, thank you so much for being on here today. We might have to continue this with a part 2 down the road.
Sounds good to me.
Watch the market, and maybe we can get back to.
Yeah, we'll have to follow up and see if my predictions were right or wrong.
This is time-stamped. Now we know.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Ryan. I do appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. Yep. If you like this, please share it with your friends. Subscribe. We'll continue to bring you great content, and we'll see you next time here on the Running Real Estate Podcast.